And I will try to do our live integration. Okay, so people will be starting to come on who had the registration. And for everybody who's joining us, my name is Ihor Mikhachechen. I'm the UCC's Executive Director here with Alex and Matthew, who will be presenting tonight. And we're just giving people a few minutes to log in, and I'm trying to figure out how to get onto Facebook Live, but it doesn't seem to be working. So that's fine. We'll just record it. Okay, I see a couple more people are coming in. We're not going to have a long Q&A and presentation. We just asked Alex and Matt to tell us a little bit about their experience, and then we'll answer some questions. And I'll just, again, remind people of the basics of the programa. Trying Facebook one more time here. Well, I can do my Facebook account first. Yes, I am. It doesn't want to work. That's fine. So just for the people coming in, I see just a handful right now, but we'll give people a few more minutes. Oh, there's more people coming in already. So again, my name is Ihor Mikhachechen. I'm the program director of the internship program, which is run by the UCC's Charitable and Educational Trust. And it's our pleasure to speak with you tonight about the program. If you're here, you probably have done a little bit of reading about the program, we hope, and have maybe already applied or are thinking of applying. So we're going to just go over the basics tonight. I'm just going to pop up our website here for everybody under the UCC Trust's website. If you go to ucc.ca, you can find our the program tab, and here's the internship. So for the purposes of this crowd, applications are due May 15th, so just under 2 weeks from now. There's a little bit about our program, which we'll tell you about how to apply. We're looking for, again, recent graduates, young professionals who can work in Canada, or interested in Canadian politics, and want to learn more, have critical thinking skills, some community and volunteer involvement and skills, and obviously excellent communication is required. And so here's just a little bit more about our alumni: Daria, our current intern; Elizabeth, our last intern; and these guys, our alumni, who you will hear from shortly. So all of this is available on our website with some testimonials from our alumni in terms of how this has shaped their career and their experience. So we'll come back to that later. And if you do have a question, we will welcome your questions using the Q&A function. Somebody has just put in a comment, will there be a recording of the call? Yes, we are recording. And for future use, we'll post it to our YouTube page. There's also a recording of the last info session we did about a month ago with Daria and Elizabeth. And so we are doing everything we can to generate interest and applications, because the more people who hear about it, the more that apply, the better in our view, because it's a great opportunity. So I'll just, I think we've got a few attendees here. So just before I ask Matthew to come on and tell us about his experience, I'll just reiterate that this year we're looking for an intern that would start in September of 2023, ideally for 10 months. Our program has had a different time frame depending on the year and this electoral cycle. So sometimes we do 10 months, which is September to June, which gets you through all of the big items of the Parliament. So the fall, the throne speech, the winter session, the budget, and the end of session. Sometimes when there's an election or other things going on, we just have a half-a-year program. We've done 3, 4, 5 months with these guys here, which is, again, an equally great experience. And we always encourage our alumni or our current interns to be, exploring opportunities and for work and for study. So whatever the time frame of your internship, we think that it's a successful experience for people. So that being said, I'm going to stop talking now, and I'm going to turn it over to Matthew for a couple of minutes, and then to Alex for a couple of minutes. And these gentlemen are alumni, recent alumni, I'll say, of our program. And so will tell us a little bit about, maybe they can tell us about what encouraged them to apply, what interested in them applying, and then, a little bit about the work they did. And if you have any questions based on anything I've said or they've said, we'll be happy to see that in a Q&A, and we'll get to those questions after the quick presentation. So Matthew, over to you.
Yeah, for sure. Excuse me. Thank you, Ihor, for the introduction. So I guess I'll just start off with I guess what really prompted me to take this program. So I come from Saskatchewan. We don't necessarily have a lot of opportunities, unfortunately, with politics, and I was always kind of a politics guy. So I kept trying to look for, what was something out there that I could take advantage of. And one of my professors actually recommended, like, hey, the UCC has this internship program. You should definitely check it out. So once the pandemic hit, and I was kind of looking for some work to do after I finished all my undergrad, I applied to this, and I thought, hopefully I can get something where, I can get a little bit more into the, weeds of what politics is, understand the intricacies of how policymaking works. Because I had a lot of experience in the academic side, but it was more of trying to figure out the practical side of how politics unfolds. So I was very privileged to do the interview and to be a successful candidate and successful intern. And so from there, I was brought into Daniel Blakey's office. He's an MP in Elmwood, Transcona, and Winnipeg. And so he had a lot of portfolios that he was dealing with, most notably international trade, which was kind of like the side of international relations that I was really interested in. And he also had a big interest in increasing his engagement with the Ukrainian community, because Winnipeg obviously has a very large Ukrainian community. So he saw a lot of that in kind of my time. So there is a lot of projects and engagement to increase that for his office. And also, general things like writing ministerial letters on issues like visa liberalization for Ukrainians, just some other various matters that he was dealing with in committees and whatnot. The other things as well that other interns can really attest to is just generally research and writing skills will really be mobilized in this work, and also really understanding kind of that quickness of how politics works, kind of the hectic scale of how quickly politics and policy making unfolds. And this is exactly kind of what I was looking forward to, because I've always wanted to do a professional degree in graduate school and doing like co-ops in the government of Canada. And this is exactly, I benefited greatly from, I feel greatly benefited from the experiences that I had at Daniel Blakey's office. They never failed to give me enough chances to kind of mobilize those important research and writing skills, communication skills as well, within his office and also with the broader caucus that he was working with. And so I feel that, yeah, the one thing I should definitely say too that was a little unique here is I did it fully online because of the pandemic, but I still felt that, even though I think most of you who will apply and look forward to this, and obviously I know other interns as well who have had the privilege to work on the Hill, there's obviously some different experiences they can attest to, but I still think that even though I did it online, there was still a lot within this program, and understanding again how the parliamentary procedures go, how policymaking happens, and how ultimately MPs take like an idea and bring it into policy on the floor, and ultimately push kind of Canada's federal governance forward. So I think like either way, whether I was doing it on the Hill or virtually, I gained a lot from this. And so I feel very privileged to have been one of the interns. And so if there are any other questions, I would be open to answering that. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. And we were happy and privileged to have you with us. And I know your member of parliament was very happy with your work as well. So I'm going to turn it over to Alex, and Alex is going to tell us a little bit about what interested him in applying. And I think, Alex, you have the unique angle of coming from a different background, perhaps not engaged in politics prior, in sort of a study way that maybe Matthew and I came from, sort of the poli-sci history world. You came from the astrophysics world.
Yes, astrophysics. Thank you for cutting through the mystery there. I was going to set up a punchline, but yeah. So really briefly, I was born in Ukraine. I moved here when I was very young, but I went back to Ukraine to pursue a degree in nuclear physics at Kharkiv Horizon National University. It just so happened that my final year there coincided with 2014. So the terrorist bombings in Kharkiv, the annexation of Crimea, the invasion of Donbass, the initial invasion of Donbass, and that really sparked an interest in me. How can this happen? You kind of go through life thinking, oh well, there's a government, there's an army, there's an economy, there's structures, international institutions that exist to prevent things like this until they don't. By that point, I was already accepted into the PhD program for astrophysics at the University of Toronto, as Ihor mentioned, but I was in the very unique position among my colleagues of knowing that I wanted to pursue something different after I leave from the day that I started. I finished right around the time that the pandemic was hitting in the spring of 2020. And this program came along on my radar. I'd been doing some volunteer work with the Ukrainian Canadian community in Toronto. And it seemed like a great opportunity to, as a recent graduate, to shift fields into this area that I was really interested in. So I was placed with MP David Sweet. Unlike Matthew, I had some of my time was fully virtual, but there were a few short breaks in Ottawa where it seemed like the pandemic might be lifted. So I lived there for a few weeks. Fortunately for everyone who applies this time, Ottawa is essentially open, I'm hearing. So we'll definitely get a lot more out of the experience of interacting with people live, going to the receptions, of being in meetings and of things like that. In terms of my work, a lot of it dealt with dealing with constituent issues, dealing with other reports that MP Sweet was preparing, his communications with other members of Parliament, his work on committees, including on human rights in China. So that was sort of what occupied my time there. As Ihor mentioned, it wasn't really cut short, but the election naturally emerged after the end of my time with the program. So I worked in the same riding on the campaign of MP Sweet's successor, who ended up winning, MP Dan Muse. So I really got a sense for the political side of things, and then kind of leveraged that into a job with the member of provincial parliament for the same riding. Likewise, worked in the provincial election that happened last summer. Then worked on the municipal election that happened last fall. So, very, very much took the political side of things and ran with it. And right now I am with a government relations firm, Global Public Affairs. And funny how things come full circle. One of the things that I'm working on right now is really integrating opportunities that are emerging in Ukraine, both right now and with post-war reconstruction, and communicating to Canadian businesses about how these are opportunities that you should be looking at right now, as opposed to when the war ends. The Marshall Plan, the Plan for the United Nations, these things weren't written up when the war was won. These are written up months and years in advance, and it's important to start planning now. So things come full circle.
Wow, that's very cool. So you're a busy guy then, Alex. That's great.
I try to keep busy. There's a lot of good work to be done.
Thanks for that explanation and for telling us more about your motivation and yourself, and that's I think speaks to the kind of caliber of interns we had in the past, and the quality of the applications we expect. So I don't see any Q&A questions. I had answered two previously, so we are obviously recording the call. Somebody wrote about the issue of sort of Ukrainian citizens and men and border crossings. Again, we can only deal with people who are in Canada who have the right to work. So we can't, we don't offer people visas. We can't help with travel internationally. So I will leave that as sort of our general broad answer. Some of the frequently asked questions we get are sort of, what do we define as sort of a recent graduate? So again, I'll just say for the purposes of this, within 3, 4 to 5 years max of post-secondary of some kind. We're very open to looking for people with different backgrounds, which bring different expertise and perspectives to the work. And generally, strong communications, curiosity, I think, as our two alumni here have shown, really dedication to work, dedication to community, which sort of motivate and underpin. And yes, we are, I don't think so we are over COVID, but we are in a post-pandemic scenario here in Ottawa. So we're back to in-person parliamentary sessions and committee meetings, though the MPs still have an app that they can use to participate if they wish to. And there's lots of in-person events and lots of interesting opportunities for interns. So I see one question: do the interns work part-time? So no, it is a full-time job. So it is a paid full-time job for the term of the internship, whether it's 10 months as we're looking for, or for a shorter time as the gentleman had. So we definitely are a unique opportunity that way. There might be other internships, other schools, there's high school kind of level internships, there's different research fellowships. So not everything is paid. So I think we're unique in that way, that our community donations through the UCC Trust pay the salary of the intern, which allows them to come to Ottawa now and to work, and learn while they're here. So I will just ask maybe Matt and Alex, any other kind of frequently asked question that you would want to have known the answer to before you came, or as you were doing your application?
I would say, if you even have an inkling about whether or not you're right for it, go for it. As long as you have a curiosity, as long as you have an interest in, how Canada functions, and it is a very, very interesting political system to study. The federal, provincial, municipal, regional, all that stuff. So again, if you have even a passive interest, if you have previously, wanted to work on the political or policy side of things, even though this obviously focuses on the federal level, once you're in, you're in. You'll be able to learn about just about anything you want.
Don't second guess yourself, just go for it. Always good advice. Matthew, anything that you wanted to sort of add, anything you would have wanted to know beforehand, or some advice to your fellow applicants?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the one thing I'd certainly, when I've even talked about this with other friends as well, like recommending the program, they've often asked, do you need to have a poli-sci background or something like that? And I think as Alex kind of demonstrated with his academic background, the answer is clearly no. You don't have to have a political science background. It's just all, as he said, just as long as you have a curiosity and whatnot, right. And learning about the political process.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's no test on, do you know how many members of parliament there are, or what are the names of all the ridings, or how many committees are there? There's no test. It's a learning as you go process. We want people who are willing to learn, interested in learning. And the other question I get a lot is sort of, how do we do the placement for members of parliament? So again, both of these gentlemen here worked with different members of parliament from different parties. The work of the trust and the work of the program is non-partisan, so there's no political work. The work that they've done is on their own time, sort of as party volunteers. So during the internship, we try to match. We learn about applicants through their interview, through their application process. They tell us about the issues they're interested in. They tell us about the kind of work they're interested in doing, whether they have specialization or kind of general interest. We try to match that up to members of parliament based on, the committees that members of parliament work on, the issues they're interested in, personality to some degree. We always have now an interview before we place anybody with an MP. We'll have an introductory interview to make sure that the member of parliament gets to meet the potential interns. Sometimes we do a couple of interviews just to sort of see where there's a good fit, where there's good comfort, and every MP, has a different structure to their office and different number of people. So it's always a matching game, and we've been, I think, very successful in working with members of parliament from all parties, of all sorts of backgrounds and all sorts of regions, and have had a generally excellent experience.
If I could just piggyback off of that, if you're interested in foreign affairs, you don't have to be placed with the Minister of Foreign Affairs. If you're interested in the environment, you don't have to be placed with the Minister of the Environment. There's going to be plenty of opportunities for you to be involved in many portfolios, pretty much regardless of who you're placed with.
And actually, to clarify in that, Alex, we don't actually place interns with ministers. Because we're placing interns with members of parliament who are not parliamentary secretaries, or not interns, not ministers. Ministers have a whole different, ministers of the government have different staff, different security clearances. So we're putting people with members of parliament who are involved deeply in the work of the Parliament, which is really essential work. So just to clarify that. The last question I see in the chat is how many interns are selected every year? So you can see here on screen that we had 2 interns this year, that Matt and Alex were with us. And so there's no prescribed limit other than, I guess, the financing from the program that we have available. We don't go in saying we must find 1 or 2 or 3. We really depends on the applicants, depends on who has applied. We have had rounds where we've interviewed people and said none of these applicants, really kind of meet our demands or our expectations. And we've had years where we've had 2 or 3 applicants who've really been exemplary, and we've worked within those parameters. So I would say don't worry about that end. If you're an applicant, your application and your motivation should sell itself to us. Make it clear sort of what interests you, where do you see yourself going after this program, and how it fits into your, not I would say career plan, but into your interests, into the things that you'd like to do in life, in study or professional life as well. So that's all I will reveal from the interview process. We have a good alumni network, as you saw on the site, that is active in helping connect people to the insiders that sort of work on the Hill, and as well as the future kind of job opportunities. So I will once again show you our website. May 15th is at 11:59 p.m. I believe here. Yes, Monday, May 15th, 11:59 p.m. Send us the application. There's an online application form. Again, I would recommend that you read through the reports of Dadia and Elizabeth, or any of our alumni, by clicking on their pictures here, to just learn about their perspectives and what they got from the program. And we have an email, internship@ucc.ca. We're happy to, if there's any specific questions that I didn't get to today that you've thought of afterwards, happy to answer those. And again, these are the general characteristics and skills we're looking for, but most of all, kind of openness, willingness to learn, and interest, as opposed to any particular, degree or knowledge. We're not picky in terms of narrowing the list of applicants. We just want to know that you have completed some programs and have the skills you can apply to the work. So I think with that, Matthew and Alex, it's nice to see you. Hope to see you soon in person again. And we will wrap it up for the night. And thank everybody who registered. And we'll be posting this recording onto our YouTube page as well. And wish you success, applicants, with your completion of your documents. And we look forward to seeing them. Na dobranic. Bye-bye.
Take care.